Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Monday 23rd September 2024 and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Rising cost of living attract mass protest in Martinique. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Protests have erupted in the French Caribbean island of Martinique over the high cost of living, sparking violent clashes with police and the destruction of property. At least 6 police officers were injured by gunfire in one recent confrontation with protesters.
This fast food restaurant is the workplace of more than 100 young residents of Fort-de-France on the island of Martinique. Those who burned it down put those low-income workers, most of them students, out of a job.
It will take months to rebuild the restaurant. This has put our young workers in a difficult position.
This arson, like the looting and vandalism in Fort-de-France and neighboring La Montagne, are part of a protest against the high cost of living on the French Caribbean island. While people are divided over the methods used by the rioters, in recent days several people have been wounded in shootings, including police officers and a protester. Several stores have been looted and some barricades set up by demonstrators. Most agree, though, authorities must act to bring down prices, starting with food.
This is a tougher phase of the protest. The priority is to be able to afford food.
In Martinique, basic food products are on average 40% more expensive than in mainland France.
They ask me, Dad, can you pay for this? It's difficult to answer yes, because I can't make ends meet.
Protesters demand distributors cut their margins and that the state cut a specific tax on food imports, which isn't applied in mainland France. Talks between local groups, elected leaders, and distributors have so far failed. To stop the violence, additional police forces have been sent to the island, and a partial night curfew is now enforced in several neighborhoods of Fort-de-France, with authorities saying the goal is solely to protect people and businesses.
Tim Walz, Democratic vice presidential candidate in the United States, calls out his Republican parallel J.D. Vance for lies about Haitian immigrants.
Donald Trump's running mate, Senator Vance, did a really remarkable thing. He got called out by a fair and free press that are a part of our democracy and fundamental to the freedoms of this country. He got called out by that press about telling vicious, hurtful lies about immigrants. But he did something. He told the truth. They asked him if maybe it was an accident or he didn't mean it. No, he said, I admit it. I'm willing to create stories to spread fear to drum up support for us. Now, the only thing amongst this group is no kidding. We've been seeing that for years. Yes, but at least they admitted it. So you got to ask, what other things are they making up stories about? I think you know. The reason you do that is because if you told what you really stood for, no one would vote for you.
Antigua and Barbuda's Foreign Affairs Minister E.P. Chet Green has called for a deepening of Antigua-Africa relations. ABS's Ursel Charles Jr. reports.
There is no denying the significant cultural and political ties which run through both Antigua Barbuda and the countries on the African continent. Using our common identity as a starting point, Foreign Affairs Minister the Honorable E.P. Chet Green says bolstering trade and investment among the nations could serve as a primary impetus to fortified relationships.
develop bilateral and regional trade agreements to increase trade and investment, focus on key sectors like agriculture, tourism, and technology, strengthen diplomatic ties through bilateral agreements and cooperation on international platforms.
He also indicates the sociocultural and educational elements are important steps forward to buttressing the relationship.
Fostering cultural exchange programs to celebrate and preserve the shared heritage, such as our music, our dance, and art. Improve transportation and communication links to facilitate easier movement of people and goods. It is interesting to note that there are partnerships like the LEA 2020 and the Air Peace Agreement.
Minister Green articulates Antigua Barbuda's push to cement an ongoing relationship is not new, however.
Antigua and Barbuda between 2014 and 2017 will have enhanced diplomatic relations with the African continent, making several diplomatic appointments to the African Union, to the Federal Republic of Ethiopia. And over the years, we have been engaging African countries, both bilaterally and within the multilateral frameworks, such as the UN, the Commonwealth, the AU, and even the Organization of African, Caribbean, Pacific States.
He's therefore agitating for what he calls a strong collaborative and mutually beneficial relationship between Antigua Barbuda and the African continent. He submits the country now needs to move with alacrity and engage political will, commitment, dedication, and the ambition to make it happen. For ABS News, I'm Ursil Charles Jr.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Dr. Timothy Antoine, has praised the government of St. Lucia for its efforts to implement a minimum wage. DBS's Zane Romulus tells us more.
On October 1st, 2024, the new minimum wage of $6.52 per hour will come into effect. The announcement of the new wage rate has been widely welcomed by the public and is expected to bring relief to some 40,000 workers who have been struggling to make ends meet due to the existing low wage structure. In a recent interview during his visit to St. Lucia, Timothy Antoine, the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, touched on this action taken by the government of St. Lucia to ensure working-class citizens earn a livable wage.
I don't know if it's livable. I think it's an improvement, and I think the minimum wage has to be looked at. So I'm glad it's being reviewed now.
The governor stressed the importance of finding a balance between a basic wage that allows people to live comfortably and making sure that businesses, particularly small enterprises, can fulfill their obligations when setting the minimum wage.
I think when people hear minimum wage, sometimes they think about the large established businesses, but there are small businesses. A landscaper. To give a personal example, the minimum wage was raised in Grenada, which is where I'm originally from. I'm a currency union man now, so I'm St. Lucian, I'm Antiguan, I'm Grenadian, but I was born in Grenada. The minimum wage there was raised there last year, early this year. And my landscaper of 20 odd years said to me, I have to increase the monthly arrangement based on the thing. And of course, he has to obey the law, and I respect the law. So I said, okay, well, let's do it. I mean, we made the adjustment because I wanted him to keep his workers as well. So I'm giving a simple example to say small businesses are also impacted. So you have to calibrate
and households,
it. And households. Yeah. So people may say, that's not enough. But you have to move it in a thoughtful way where you give the workers an increase, which they need and deserve, but also you make sure businesses can stay alive and continue to grow.
Governor Antoine suggested that future considerations for reviewing the minimum wage should take into account a sector-based minimum wage.
The focus ultimately has to be on competencies, so not just qualifications, because they're not quite the same, related but not. Competencies, and you pay for competencies. So as people are able to bring skills, not just subject skills, you should pay for that. And the more skillful you are, the more you should be paid. So I think that is where we should go. That's where we should evolve.
He acknowledged that adjustments to the minimum wage should be done in phases so as to not negatively impact the business sector. For the DPS News World, I am Zane Romulus.
Call the general election. That's the message from the opposition to the governing Jamaica Labour Party, which they contend has lost the confidence of the Jamaican people. CVM's Ramon Gordon fills us in.
The opposition People's National Party wants a general election amid roaring, icy controversy and calls for high-profile resignations.
So that the people have the chance to elect a new government that can take our country out of this mess.
The PNP believes a recently tabled Integrity Commission report fingers Holness for unethical conduct, including an alleged misuse of funds, which Golding argues is incompatible with his continued leadership of the country.
Mr. Andrew Holness has a higher duty to the public to ensure that the laws of Jamaica are maintained and that he acts in keeping with the standards of principled behavior required of his very high office.
He sets the moral compass for his cabinet, for the parliament.
I'm sad to say, and I take no glee in saying this, that Mr. Holness has failed.
Golding, speaking at a press conference on Thursday, said the Prime Minister has misled the country after the Integrity Commission reportedly notified Holness of its investigation into his finances.
Yes, Mr. Holness is one of the illicit 6, now the illicit 8, and he has known this for well over a year.
It should be clear to the Prime Minister that he cannot function as a leader.
My advice to Mr. Holness is a simple one. Pack your bags because you can't stay.
The reports, which form the basis of these accusations, highlight multiple areas of concern. Among them, a $94,000 investment, where a third of the funds allegedly came from Holness's Positive Jamaica Foundation, a charity. The opposition also hurled allegations of a conflict of interest, where Holness appointed his business partner as chair of 2 major public bodies under his jurisdiction, the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, and the Housing Agency of Jamaica, HAJ.
Jamaica has a Prime Minister who remains under investigation for the serious corruption offense of illicit enrichment. This is a serious blot on the country's image, both locally and internationally. It is untenable for our Prime Minister not to be in good standing with the country's Integrity Commission.
Ramon Gordon, for CVM News.
The genesis of crime in St. Kitts and Nevis and a call for unified approach by all political parties to solve this burning issue were the subjects of one of recent commentaries by political commentator and former National Security Minister Dwyer Astafan. Andre Huey of SKN Newsline has more.
7 members of the security forces in St. Kitts and Nevis, 3 from the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force and 4 from the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force, successfully completed the 6-week Junior Leaders Level 3 CVQ course designed by the Regional Security System RSS Training Institute. Topics covered during the course included effective leadership, group dynamics, delegation of authority, human rights, preparation, and planning of large-scale events, emergency care and management, incident command, crime scene management, key point defense, and more. The training was also attended by 13 regional counterparts from Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, and Guyana. Regional and local assessors, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the Technical and Vocational Education and Training TVET Council, ensure that all necessary standards were met, as the course certification is equivalent to an associate's degree. Major Coyote Sutton, acting commander of the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force, congratulated the successful graduates during a ceremony held at the Coast Guard base on September 13th. He emphasized that the course has significantly strengthened law enforcement and military capabilities in critical national security management and disaster response coordination and management. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Drew, also commended the initiative, which is the first of its kind. The Prime Minister, who also serves as the chair of the Council of National Security and Law Enforcement, added that incorporating a CARICOM vocational qualification component will greatly enhance trainees' ability to operate effectively in both regional and international contexts, which allows for more networking opportunities with global partners. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.